Today, I'm going to share with you 13 player development responsibilities you may have if you're in the role or if you're preparing for it. These are 13 responsibilities that I found myself having at some point, and you may have them as well. Number one responsibility, player wellness. Yes, you may have the responsibility of taking care of the players and making sure that everything is okay with the player outside of the competition, outside of the field, outside of practice, games, whatever. You may be responsible for that. I know at one school, we did this at Baylor, it was pretty cool. We did it at KU as well. We went through the entire roster and we went through and we would talk about every person. So I was in there, strength was in there, nutrition was in there, academics was in there, compliance. We're all in there kind of talking about, we're going through every player, how so-and-so doing this, what we need to know, boom. And that was one of my responsibilities. I had to be there, had to, work the chart at KU more specifically. Baylor, we had a really good team. They did a really good job of it. Like, hey, I had to know. Coaches would ask me, hey, how's he doing? What's going on? So the player wellness was a responsibility you may have of making sure. Now, if that's your responsibility, get external help, good external help. You heard about all those people that I talked about at school, at the schools I worked with. You need to get help. Also get help from people in the community. Number two, community impact. That may be a responsibility for you. Get in the community. When I started at the University of Houston, Tom Herman said that was one of the things, get in the community. And so here's the deal. Anybody in the community, you're not going to be the first one to do community work in the city or at the university you're at. There are people who are doing that. So if that's your responsibility, find people. With all these responsibilities, try and find people. I actually did a podcast up here about the 10 people you need to know in the role. Find people who will help you in the role. Community impact is a big one. I love community impact. It was incredible meeting so many people in the community, local community. We want them to support our program, right? You want the community to support your program. Well, you need to be there for them. Are you supporting them? Hey, that may be a responsibility you have. You can create some incredible programming there. Number three, career development. This may be a responsibility. I know though these first three I shared, player wellness, community impact, and career development, these are ones that when I got the job at the University of Houston, this is what Tom Herman told me I was going to do. Take care of the players, get in the community, and get them summer jobs. Well, if they got to get summer jobs, they got to get jobs after they graduate, after they finish playing. So you may have the responsibility of career development. Once again, find outside help. Every university, every campus, every college, they have a career center. And if your college doesn't have it, someone in the county has it, right? There's a career center somewhere or someone that specializes in career. Go to them first, okay? And then you can do some specific programming to your athletes because it is a different segment or different population of the student population. But career development may be one of those. Now, when you're doing that career development, do not forsake the help of alumni. They are big. We'll talk about alumni later. The fourth responsibility you may have is mentorship. You may have to build a mentorship program. This was big when I started at Houston. We had the Big Brother program where we had to connect, a current player with a newcomer. We had to bring them together. This is your big brother per se. They're going to help you with that. So mentorship may be one. When I worked at Kansas, when I worked at Baylor, I learned about different areas of mentorship. So when I was at Houston, it was player to player, but then we started doing former player to current player, then staff to player, then community to player or player to community, and then coach to player. So there's 5 different areas of mentorship that come about, and you may have that responsibility to make that a reality for everyone involved in your program. Yes, and even some who are outside your program. Get that help, like I said. All right, so I'm gonna pause right there. I'm gonna talk to you about myself. I got rolling. We're 4 minutes in and I was straight going. I didn't introduce myself. My name is Ed Jones. I am the founder of Beyond the Field Player Development. I was in the player development role at Houston, Kansas, and Baylor. I am passionate. I've transitioned since, and I am passionate about player development. And I've created this podcast, this YouTube page, whatever it may be that you're locked in on and giving your attention to help those who want to learn more about player development. Currently, we have over 3 days of player development content. Yes, 3 days. You could just binge out. And if you have any more questions about player development, come to the player development webinar that's happening every Sunday. There's a link in the show notes for you to join. All right, let's jump back into these responsibilities. Number 5, that's why I gotta keep this thing on there because I'll get going and get rolling. Number 5, alumni relations. That may be a responsibility you may have. Yes, hey, I need you to work with alumni. So this happened when I was at Houston. This happened when I was at Kansas. At Baylor, we had Coach David Wetzel, who was on staff, who played there, did an incredible job with alumni. He would introduce me to people, but it wasn't my responsibility at Baylor. But at Kansas and Houston, it was part of my responsibility in the role. And the big thing I've learned with alumni is they just want to be seen, heard, and valued. That's it. That's it. And really, honestly, in my experience, it's heard first, seen, and valued. That's what they want. And this is important. Alumni engagement, alumni relations is huge. When I was at University of Houston, I've told this story many times. Some of you all probably watching, like, hey, tell that story again. When I was at University of Houston, we had a coach, rest in peace, Coach Bill Yeoman was there for over 2 decades. So we had all these players that played under Coach Yeoman, and then we had players after Coach Yeoman. No coach had been there more than 7 years. So we had this frayed aspect of former players. And so we oh man, the conversations I had with players, it was just incredible. Like, it just shocking to me. Not incredible in the sense of like awesome, but just like, wow, like y'all really did this to players? Coaches turning players away. Players bringing their sons and their kids, their daughters to practice, and coaches being like, hey, you can't be here. People who play, these grown men crying on the phone with me, crying as they leave a practice field. It was incredible, like just hearing all the stories. And so, like I said, not incredible in a good way, but just like, wow, like how could you turn people away who played here? But anyway, that may be a responsibility for you, and it could be a great responsibility. I enjoyed spending time with people, former players. Now, I ain't listen to everything they say, because they'll give you a whole list of everything to do, but there are some great things there in alumni relations. All right, the 6th responsibility you may have in player development is academics. Yes, everywhere I was at, I was the academic liaison. It was incredible. I learned a lot, and shout out to all my academic staffs at Houston, Kansas, and Baylor. It's too many to name, but you know who you are if you're watching this. I had an incredible time with academic staffs at all 3 of those universities. At the University of Houston, I came from being a high school coach, so I knew something about academics because I was a teacher as well, but I was responsible for our walk-on academics. So that kind of threw me in the fryer. I learned a lot, and it was really good there. At Kansas, I was our liaison. I would meet weekly with our, academic staff. I was there meeting with them. It was pretty cool. We did a lot of things. It was really cool. We did a lot of great things at Kansas. And then at Baylor, I was a liaison as well. I worked specifically with our academic staff. We really created, this probably the coolest thing we created, or I was able to help create in the role, was our head coach at Baylor came to me. He said, hey, our coaches aren't paying attention. And it wasn't anything against the academic staff, but we were reading out every single player, every single assignment, every single grade. He said, we need something quick, fast, get them to the point. So what I created was basically a green, yellow, red diagram and all this stuff. I brought it to Emily DeRat, and then she put it into the form. It was pretty cool. But basically it was, these guys are green, give them high fives. Boom. These guys yellow, you need to spend more time at elbow, my funny bone. That's not funny. Spend more time with the people in yellow. And then these guys are red, they need your attention. So coaches, the meetings went a little faster because you could just look up, say boom, 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 boom. But anyway, that could be a responsibility of yours. It was a great responsibility, like I said. Number 7, programming. You got to get programming. Every coach is going to want programming. Can you bring in a guest speaker? Can you do this? Whatever it may be. Normally your programming is in the summer when it comes to college football because it's a little light. They're lifting, they're going to school, and you have more opportunity to do programming. Your coaches are off the road, and the head coach is sitting there, and they're just thinking about, okay, what can we do? What can we do for the guys, right? And whenever I did programming, the number one thing is whenever I get a chance to get programming, like I said, it may be in the summer. They may tell you to do something in the spring. I've had situations where Monday, hey, Jones, we need something by Friday. All right, awesome. Let's go, right? During the season, right? Or bye week. And so I always wanted financial education to be a part of our program. That was always going to be a pillar. And then from there, you pick some other things. I always wanted to appease the coaches. They're going to want a motivational speaker or someone to speak into the lives of the coaches and staff. So you find that. I always wanted some career or professional program speaker experience to help our players with that. And then the last one was kind of like a wild card. I asked the players, what do y'all want to do, right? And so normally 4-week programming, so that's how I handled it there. All right, so if you're saying, hey man, you got a lot of experience and this is awesome, I've been tuning into you, but how can you help me? If you're asking how I can help you, I got something for you. There's a link in the show notes that says, here's how Beyond the Field can help you. Click that link, get with me, let's make it happen. All right, number 8. Your 8th responsibility could be player relations. Now, this is everything that has to do with the player that is not development. So player relations, when I bring this up, this is like housing, parking, significant others, friends, family, all the different things. Now, I'll talk about family later, but the things that are not in your influence, I would say, for word of football, your time in football, all the other things that can happen, those player relations, that may be your responsibility, right? Hey, I was always a liaison to housing. I knew the parking people. I knew a lot of people on campus and in the city, just for the different relations with player. Number 9, responsibility may be recruiting. You will have a recruiting problem. Let me not say maybe, you will have a recruiting responsibility. And I've worked with some good people in recruiting. I'm thankful. Shout out to my guy, Alex Brown. That's my dog. We did incredible stuff at the University of Houston, but you're there for recruiting. Hey, do you need a presentation? Do you need me to take someone on a tour? Do you need me to show up for games and come back to the tent or the indoor to talk to families? Do you need me to sit next to mom during pregame or dad or whoever? Like different things like that. You can have responsibilities. Sometimes I'll sit in my office. Hey, Jones, we got somebody coming in. You got 15 minutes? Yep, I'm ready. Let's go. Player development presentation is what we're going to do. This, how we're going to help you. Boom, 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 boom. But you're going to have a recruiting responsibility. And I got something for you. I did a podcast episode that's up here about recruiting and how recruiting and player development can work together, and it dives deeper into the responsibilities you will have with your recruiting staff. Number 10, NIL. Now, this could be NIL and revenue sharing. Revenue sharing is not in yet, but as these things change, you will have responsibility in there. Now, your hands can't be fully deep in there, but you may have a responsibility of, hey, communicating with the players from the coaches or from whoever in the athletic department, but you will have a responsibility. I heard one professional talking about, as they get prepared for revenue sharing, that they could possibly be asked to raise money. Hey, it is what it is. It's going to be a responsibility. Now, this is not a responsibility, but this is an opportunity for you to come together with those in player development, athlete development at the Player Development Summit, which will be here in Kansas City, May 29th through the 31st. I want to see you there. The 4 pillars of the Player Development Summit are to grow, network, partner, and hire. And I want you there because it's going to be incredible to meet everybody in person. Click the link in the show notes for more information and get your early bird tickets. They're not going to be early birds anymore. You ain't going to be able to get that worm. You ain't going to get the worm, dog. All right. This last 3, here we go. Number 11, team building. You may have a responsibility of team building. This happened everywhere I was at, but very specifically when I was at Baylor University. I had to do team building during the summer. So we were doing programming and team building. And so with the team building piece, one thing I love doing in the summer because you get a lot of athletes before fall camp starts. And I like the guys to see how the new guys compete, how the new guys do things. You want to get that stuff squared away early on. So when we get to fall camp, they kind of understand. So you ain't got fights in the locker room. You knew when we did dodgeball, this person was super competitive, so they're prepared. But I like to give them team building things that are competitive. And we used to break down teams. This different position group. Okay, boom, you're from this city, whatever. We wanted to get our players around other players that they would not spend time with on their own, right? People that they would, now I don't want to say avoid, but would spend time with other people, right? So we wanted to get them in a situation where you are with different people. Why? Because that's the game of football. You're going to play a game and it may be some person you don't know, some person from a different type of city. We're going to do that. So we're going to build as a team. We did it competitively. And it's pretty awesome to see some relationships that budded and some relationships that players still have. All right, number 12, family relations. I talked about it a little bit earlier. You may have a responsibility of family relations. Now, where I was at, I was never the liaison to family, but I always helped. And that could be communication. I know when we did our orientation and we brought in newcomers, I would talk to the family. Here's my number. Call me if you have any questions. They would get my number. They would call me, different things like that. Hey, Jones, where do we park? Where's the gate after the game? Boom, boom, boom. Your phone's on. They got you. You may have a family relation responsibility. And last, but definitely not least, in the reality of today's college athletics and athletics overall, even for those who work in this pro, 13, newcomer transition. You may have that responsibility. I always love newcomer transition and doing orientation because for me, in the role, I could pick the speakers and I had a checklist and we already spoke about that. The reason why I bring this up, one university I was at, one of our players, the night of they moved in, they went out, had something to drink, drinking and driving, right? It happened. Well, we found out that the speaker we were going to have, the campus police, local police, was going to be the next day. So from then on out, I was like, they're talking to him the first day, and I put all the speakers who could help us, help my players stay out of trouble. So I love the newcomer orientation because I had a chance to be like, we need this speaker, we need this speaker, we need this speaker, we need that speaker on the first day, and then we'll have these speakers wherever it be. Now, it's not all bad with newcomer transition. You get opportunity to help newcomers. I really enjoyed picking the right teammates to get them around campus to show them how the campus will be. So newcomer transition, I loved it. Once again, that could be a responsibility you may have in the player development role. Well, that was all 13. Let me go over them again to recap. Number 1, player wellness. Number 2, community impact. Number 3, career development. Number 4, mentorship. Number 5, alumni relations. Number 6, academics. Number 7, programming. Number 8, player relations. Number 9, recruiting. Number 10, NIL. Number 11, team building. Number 12, family relations. And number 13, newcomer transition. Awesome. Well, I want you to watch this video. If you're saying, hey man, this is awesome. Like, how did you do this? All of this is a part of my player development plan. So I want you to watch this video right here where I walk with you. I help you create a player development plan during the podcast and the video. And if you want to keep going, here's something that YouTube suggests for you. As I always say, go out and create generational impact. Don't wait, create that generational impact today.